Hey guys, Retro Gaming Guy here. So today in this video, we're going to unbox and tour through what the brand new Kinhank 12 terabyte plug and play game drive has to offer. Now they're advertising over 86,000 plug and play video games included on here. And this combines Hyperspin with Retrobat, with LaunchBox's Big Box, with Playnite, and even Kodi. So there's a whole lot to comb through. We're going to go ahead and start unboxing this. I'm going to set it up on my gaming PC today, and we're going to tour through exactly what is included on here. Let's dive into it. All right, so here is the box that I received. Now we'll go ahead and open this up. So we do have a Super Game hard drive user manual right here, which basically walks through your setup process. It also has a few diagrams and pictures here. So it walks through the different things that you're going to have to access within in order to make sure you have all the necessary drivers and all that good stuff. Now, over here we have our power supply cable. So this external hard drive is going to have its own power supply cable. We'll go ahead and remove the actual drive so you can see that this is a pretty good size external hard drive here. And we're going to connect our power supply cable right over here, just like that. This is obviously going to plug into a power outlet. And now we also should have, we have a product warranty card within here as well. But I believe that is for the actual enclosure here, not Kinhank's, full drive here. Now, here is the other cable we're going to need. Now, this is going to be our USB connection cable. This is how we actually connect this over to our PC. So we'll go ahead and remove this. You can see one side is a USB-A connection. Other side is going to plug in right into the drive itself, just like that. So these are your two connection cables. Again, power supply here, USB connection. So this plugs into your PC. This plugs into the power outlet on your wall, and you are able to go ahead and power this on. There's a power button located right over here. Just simply press that, and this is going to pop up on your screen. You're going to be able to add your drivers. You could download everything direct from here, but if you're already currently gaming and specifically emulation gaming on your PC, you likely have everything already pre-installed, but you can easily run a check. And if you are missing anything, they'll automatically download. All that can be done directly from the files within this hard drive. So we're going to go ahead and boot this up. We'll dive into this. We'll tour through literally everything that this has to offer. All right, guys, so here we are launching straight into the plug-and-play Kinhank 12 terabyte game drive. Now, this has so many components to unpack today, so this is going to be a pretty extensive video. So first and foremost, we have LaunchBox Big Box. We have over here Playnite, we have Retrobat, we have Hyperspin, we have TechnoParrot, we have Kodi in here. So we'll kick it all off with LaunchBox Big Box. We'll launch that right here, and we'll comb through what this has to offer. All right, so here we are inside a Big Box. So we'll just kind of comb through each of the collections. But first off, love the layout here. Love the arcade cabinet, which shows us some video previews. But for Nintendo Entertainment System, 888 total games. We can go down to Nintendo Entertainment System hacks, 91 titles in there. And let's jump in here and see how everything looks within. So we've got logos on the left-hand side. I love the way that looks. And each one of these is going to have their own video preview over here on the right-hand side. So if we go into Afterburner, for example, Afterburner populates in on the arcade cabinet. We have it across the marquee and the video preview right below that. So I'm not going to go through each and every title, or we would be here until next year, but I'll back out of that. We saw that we have, for NES hacks, 91 titles. We have the Family Computer, 415 games there, Family Computer Disk System, 215 games over here. Game Boy, 863 total games, and we'll jump in here and you can see layout very similar to that of NES. All the logos, which read beautifully on the left-hand side. Love the way that this is set up once again. We'll keep it moving. Game Boy Advance, 1,132 games. We have Game Boy Advance hacks, 22 of those. Game Boy Color over here with 596 total games. We've got Nintendo GameCube with 638 total games. We've got Pokemon Mini over here with 30 games. We've got Super Famicom Satellaview with 85 games. We've got Super Game Boy over here with 239 games. Wow. We've got Nintendo Switch over here, 207 Switch games. I'm blown away by that number. I mean, that can't be right. Let's jump in here and see what we've got. So we've got some flashback going on here. We've got some Formula Retro Racing. We've got Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. So it's not a lot of, well, I spoke too soon. We've got the House of the Dead, the remake over here. We've got some Zelda.
We got a lot of Zelda. It's not a lot of, I was going to say, it's not a lot of like the really big games here, but like Forgotten Land is awesome from Kirby. We've got Kirby Star Allies. So, I mean, I stand corrected. There are some really mainstream titles here. I mean, look at the Zelda games here. We've got Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, Skyward Sword. We've got Tears of the Kingdom in here. Wow, Luigi's Mansion 3, Mario and Rabbids. We've got Mario Kart Deluxe, Mario Party Superstars, Mario Strikers Battle League, Mario Tennis Aces. This is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, I'll definitely check out some of these titles as well just to make sure that things actually work. But, I mean, I will say this. I'm very familiar with LaunchBox, Big Box, and the other offerings on here as well. Retrobat, Hyperspin, as well as TechnoParrot. And, yeah, I mean, all of this is possible. So I'm not really concerned about this, but I wasn't expecting anything like this. Red Dead Redemption's in here for Switch. We have a ton of Pokemon offerings. We've got some Resident Evil in here. This is absolutely insane. Sonic Origins, Mania, Frontiers, Superstars. Oh my gosh. This is incredible. This has been my favorite game for a while now. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I love the retro feel to this, but obviously it's, kicked up to modern day times as well. So we've also have the Cowabunga collection, which is cool. But yeah, Shredder's Revenge just hits different for me. I love that. Wow. I'm just totally blown away by this. This is insane. Got some Capcom fighting games. We got the Captain Toad. What is that? Treasure Tracker. Yep. This is just insane. Crash Team Racing, Nitro Fuel's in here. Cuphead I saw. Double Dragon, Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze. And we're back to where we started. So, I mean, yeah. 207 games in here. It's mind-blowing. We've got Virtual Boy in here. 25 games. Nintendo Wii in here. 887 Wii games. I'm a huge Wii fan myself, especially with emulation because it's just so on point. So we've got... I was just playing this the other day in my living room for way too long. Angry Birds Star Wars. Love that game. Quantum of Solace is good. If you're a 007 fan. World War II Aces, I played that recently as well. We've got some WWE in here. Wreck-It Ralph's in here. And we have our Mario titles. We've got the Wii Sports, Wii Play, Wii Resorts, all that good stuff. We got some Wario Land, Virtua Tennis 4. And we'll just jump up here to the M's and just make sure that we have some Mario stuff. But yeah, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Super Mario All-Stars. Wow, incredible. All right, we're going to back out of this one. We're going to keep it moving. We've got Wii U over here, 109 Wii U games. Dude, this is crazy. Incredible. Mario Kart 8, Mario Party 10, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. That's my favorite game for Wii U. We've got Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Tipping Stars. Some Monster Hunter in here. Wow. And all the Super Mario Brothers U titles. That's incredible. We've got WiiWare in here with 403 games. We've got Open Bore in here with 126 games. Love Open Bore, Open Beats of Rage. We've got Philips CD1, or excuse me, we've got Philips CDI in here with 55 total games. Scum VM, love those titles. Curse of Monkey Island, the Indiana Jones titles, 61 games there. Sega 32X with 35 games. Sega CD with 163 games. Dreamcast, 333 games. Game Gear over here with 335 games. We've got Sega Genesis with 946 games. We've got Genesis Hacks with 159 games. We've got Sega Hikaru, 5 total games there. Master System with 335 games. Master System Hacks, 15 games. Sega Mega Drive Europe, 521 games. Sega Mega Drive Hacks, 29 games. Sega Mega Drive Japan, 395 games. Sega Saturn with 306 games. Wow. And Lara Croft Tomb Raider right there is taking me back. So let's jump in here. Let's go upwards, though. WrestleMania, the arcade game for Sega Saturn. WWF in Your House. Wow. Absolutely incredible. I saw X-Men was there. Sega SG 1000, 75 games. Sharp 68,000, 310 games. We've got some ZX Spectrum in here with 528. We've got Super Nintendo CD MSU, 156. Super Nintendo Europe, 517. Super Nintendo Japan, 740. Super Nintendo USA, 915. Neo Geo Pocket with 10 games. Neo Geo Pocket Color with 40 games. Original PlayStation, just 1,804 games. Oh my God, that's crazy. Sony PlayStation 2, European, 2 titles. Sony PlayStation 2 USA, 639 games. PlayStation 3, 173 games. PSP over here, 823 games. Sony PSP Minis, 312 total games. Super Nintendo Famicom, 525 games. Supervision, we've got 43 games. Wonder Swan Color, we've got 94 games. We've got over here 43 games. We've got over here 175 games. Amstrad CPC, 1,165 games. GX 4000, 25 games. Now Atari 2600, 664. 5272, 7860, Jaguar 54, Lynx 75, ST 1145, ColecoVision 166, Commodore 64, 2616, Amiga 1798, Amiga CD 32, 165. CDTV from Commodore, 31. Vectrex over here with 42. And Television with 140. Megaduck with 24. MSX with 283. MSX2 with 123. Microsoft MSX2 Plus, 53 games. Original Xbox, 62 games. Xbox 360, oh wow, 116 Xbox 360 games. Let's just take a peek at that, because this is something that I've had mixed results with emulating these. Now, there's a lot of titles that do work. There's a lot of titles that don't work. So we got to see kind of how everything is going to perform over here. That's going to depend on how you're hooking this up as well, what you're actually trying to connect this drive to, of course. But wow, Gears of War, all the Halo games over here. And it's not just going to be like Halo games for 360 like you would think. I mean, yes, the Combat Evolved Anniversary was put out to 360, advanced graphics there, but it's still the original Combat Evolved, just obviously kicked up a few notches. So, take that into consideration. You're getting a little bit more than you would probably think about here for Xbox 360, because there are a lot of games that were kind of redone for 360 but are truly Xbox original games. So Red Dead Redemption over here, it looks like we have 2 versions of that one. I saw a prototype up there. Ridge Racer 6 is over here. The Simpsons game, Skate SSX, the Tekken titles, Terminator Salvation. Wow, I'm totally blown away. So over here we have 70 titles. Over here with PC Engine we have 300 titles. PC Engine CD 124, SuperGrafx 5, TurboGrafx 16 108, TurboGrafx CD 46, Nintendo 3DS 493, Nintendo 64 Europe 240, Nintendo 64 USA 312, Nintendo 64 disk drive over here 10 games, and then Nintendo DS 2,221 DS games. Absolutely insane what this setup has to offer over here. So, yeah, I mean, to say that I'm blown away would be an understatement, and we've just scratched the surface as to what is on here. So we can back out of this. In fact, we'll go over here to the big box menu. We'll go to exit, and this will kick us back out to the original menu that we started on here when we first launched this. And now we'll go over to, let's skip over Playnite just because I want to save that for last. Let's go into Retrobat over here. So Retrobat's going to be a lot of retro stuff, just like LaunchBox, Big Box was so far. So I'm interested to see how everything kind of plays out for us over here. Do we have just basically the same list, just, put into this, or is it a completely different selection of titles? I mean, I'm not really sure what to expect in here. Let's see. We've got Sega 32X, so Sega Saturn's over here with how many titles? Where are our games? Where's our game count on here? Am I missing this? Yeah, I'm not seeing an actual game count that populates in over here. Okay, so that's kind of a crappy way to lay this out. Now, once we get within here, does it tell us how many games? Maybe I'm missing it, but I'm not seeing, the total number of games here. I wonder if we can do, let me see, can we change the UI settings on here? User interface, let's go over to Carbon, which honestly is a boring theme, but I think it's going to give us those counts and make those readily available to us. Yeah, so 333 for Dreamcast. Yeah, so this is going to be the exact same, at least so far anyways. Yeah, the more or less the exact same amount of titles in here. PSP Minis 312, PS3 172, PS Vita. Was PS Vita over there on the other side? It wasn't, so these are not the same. All games, we have 31,802. Yeah, so this is very different. We've got arcade games in here. We've got light guns in here. Let's go take a look at the light gun games. So there are some duplicates, but take a look at the type of duplicates we have. So for Area 51, we've got the PlayStation version, and we have the Saturn version. So yeah, it's the same title, but it's different versions of it. Battle Clash, for example, European version, USA version, so something like that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of having both versions, but I know so many people that are, so I'm not going to knock them for that. But take that into consideration. Yeah, there's going to be some duplicates in here. We've got arcade vertical games. We've got our Retrobat settings over here, so 218. We've got 1165, 25, 664, 450, 71, 1145, 60, 75, 54, 94, 166, 2616, 1798, 164. So yeah, a lot of this stuff we already saw, right? So 115 for Xbox 360. We have the 62 for original Xbox. Yeah, a lot of this stuff. So there are some differences within here, but a lot of this stuff we saw over there on LaunchBox, Big Box. And I'm not saying that in a way that, is is taking anything away from the setup here. That wasn't like, if this just had what we just saw, I'd be thrilled with that. Obviously, we got to check out the performance here. But this offers very much the same sort of layout here. We have the video preview. We have the text list on the left-hand side. It's just, honestly, it's something for everybody because some people prefer LaunchBox Big Box. Some people prefer Retrobat. Some people prefer Hyperspin. So you can kind of take the same game list and bring it over to whatever end you're most comfortable with or whatever you're most into. So definitely like that. GameCube, how many GameCube games did we have over here? Let's back out. I forget the number, 638. So, I mean, every one of these. And I like the fact that so far, Retrobat has the graphics for each of these. Like you saw over there with Big Box, we didn't have the logos for every single collection. Like I noticed that N64 was missing. I know that they had Switch. They had the majority of them. I would say probably about 90%. But towards the end, we started getting into like custom collections, like this one, obviously, and this one here. We don't have logos, official logos for these. It's just, regular text sort of heading. That doesn't bother me, but there's definitely a lot more over here than there was in LaunchBox Big Box. So all in all, man, I mean, I'm really thrilled with this setup here. I love how we're seeing exceptional attention to detail, which obviously for Kinhank, I mean, I've been critical of their setups in the past. Like a lot of times it seemed to be stuff that was kind of thrown together, kind of half-assed. This is really put together in a big way here that obviously they put a lot of care into this setup. You know, when we do have duplicates, they're duplicates within different collections. So it's not like we come through here and we have 2 of the same title in a row within the same collection. Like we saw that a couple times with Nintendo Switch. That might be different versions. You know, it's intermittent where, you know, it kind of falls in like that. But the majority of these games, you know, they're in each collection one time. So the numbers really aren't padded in here all that much. Every now and then, like I said, you will find some duplicates thrown into the mix. But yeah, it's really nothing to be upset about at all. So we're going to back out of this altogether. So the way that you would do this, since we're currently in Retrobat, we're going to open up our main menu. We'll hit quit, and that's going to kick us back out to that main menu here. So we can go into, let's go into Hyperspin. Let's go into TechnoParrot, and then we'll finish up. I'm going to skip Cody. Never been a big Cody guy myself, but we'll jump into Playnite last, because that's going to be where you find like your AAA title. So let's go into Hyperspin Attraction, which I'm a big fan of Hyperspin as well. I honestly, with all these, I'm not sure what I prefer most. I find that this collection, which you're going to see a lot more stuff in here, you're going to see a lot more arcade stuff like we're already seeing Sega Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, etc. So let's kind of kick it off with Model 3 here so I remember where we started. Left bottom corner, it'll give us the game count. So Sega Model 1, 10 games. We'll jump in here and see the layout within the collection as well. But I'm loving the graphics here. I also love the fact that we have that arcade cabinet with the video previews populating in like this. We've got Star Wars in here. So there's 2 versions of Star Wars. It's not uncommon with all the Model 1, 2, and 3 to have duplicates within here. And I don't get mad at the, you know, duplicates within those 3 collections, because sometimes you'll find that different versions work better, or different ROM types work better. So, you know, you kind of have to jump around with those. So Sega Model 2 over here. We've got, how many games do we have in here? 53 games, but I guarantee you it's much less. Like there's 3 titles here that are exactly the same. Zero Gunner, Daytona USA, these 2 are the same. This one is on its own. And then we have Turbo over here. We have GTX 2004 edition. We have Daytona USA to the max. So we've got some additional versions, but then Dynamite Cop, this is 3 different, But then we get down to Dynamite Cop, and you can see that's in here 3 times. This title's in here twice. So Indy 500's in here twice. Yeah, so there's definitely duplicates in these collections as mentioned. Sega Model 3, you're going to have a couple Dirt Devils. Love that game, though. Probably have a couple Scud Race. Yep, a couple Star Wars Arcade, right? Yep, 2 of those as well. This is typically the same exact ROM list that you'll see, regardless of where you're getting this set up. So it doesn't matter if it's from Kinhank or somebody else. It's typically what you're going to experience in Sega Model 1 through 3. But we'll continue on. We have Naomi over here with 162 games. Naomi 2 over here from Sega with 14 games. We've got, what was that? We have 2 Naomi collections. Oh, gun games. Okay, so it's just specifically going to be 8 of the light gun games. So if we jump in here, you'll see that we have the Maze of Kings was what we had up there first, but we've got some Death Crimson, we've got some Biohazard from Code Veronica, we've got House of the Dead 2, and there are duplicates thrown into the mix here. Confidential Mission, another great title, but we'll back it up. We have Nomad over here with 28 games. We've got STV with 61 games. We've got Sega System 16 with how many games in here? 26. 18 with 10. We've got 24 over here with 14 games. So I'm not going to go through each and every one of these. I mean, it's just so much to comb through. I think we'll be here for forever and a day. There are 74 shotgun games. Let's take a look at that. So we got Chiller. What a creepy game that is. Carnival. That's definitely what I think of when I think of shotgun, right? That and like, do we have like a big buck hunter maybe in here? We're going the wrong direction for a big buck hunter, but yeah, I guess that would be in a different collection entirely, right? So I'm not sure. So this is actually called Shotgun Farmers, which I'm not really sure what that's all about. Not all, like these games aren't shotgun games by any means, but whatever. I like light gun games. I'll take them however I can. SNK over here, 242 games there. All these Neo Geo options. Custom collections here. It's almost too much stuff to comb through because you have custom collections. Like, I like seeing stuff like this, but you can go in here and kind of tweak the setup as well. So like, if you're not a Tekken guy, you can hide this. If you're not a tennis game player, which I certainly am, but if you're not, you can hide this as well. So you don't have to have all of these to comb through every time that you jump into this. You can customize this to hide what you're not interested in. So that's kind of cool. And then, of course, if you really wanted to, you can remove games, you can add games, but I can't think of anything you'd want to add to this. I mean, this has been insane. All right, so this was clearly made for somebody like me. 77 wrestling games. We got to jump in here because I'm a huge wrestling fan. We've got the main event, so we have 3 duplicates there. We have Mania Challenge. We've got 2 of those. Mat Mania is cool. We've got Muscle Bomber Duo in here. We've got, I think, 3 versions of that. Ring Race, we've got 3 versions of that. Like, how many WrestleFests do we have? Because you got to have WrestleFest. Oh, my gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different WrestleFests, but they're all the same, man. So, you know, that's really repetitive. Royal Rumble, awesome game. That's going to give you 2 versions, but that's going to be, so right here it says Sega MAME. And then this one's going to be Naomi. So you could even have Dreamcast on here as well. They probably didn't include that version, but I would bet that they do have Dreamcast somewhere in the mix here as well, because that was a popular Dreamcast game. But for Superstars, we have 1 Superstar, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different versions. So yeah, we're starting to get into the point where it's getting kind of ridiculous with the amount of duplicates in here. Typically, your duplicates are going to be found in MAME or the different arcade collections, but yeah, it's a bit much to say the least. So all games list here. How many games? I bet it's like, yeah, 54,130. Yeah, there's a lot of duplicates over here on this side of things in Hyperspin. So far, we're going to exit out of here. So far, I would say my favorite so far has probably been Retrobat, just because it seems a little bit more seamless in what it offers. But we've got a lot more to dive into. Let's go into TechnoParrot now. And I'm a huge TechnoParrot guy. I love specifically Jurassic Park's light gun game in there. We also have like Terminator Salvation's awesome. Love the menu screens here. So let's go in and, oops, I launched that first one. So let's see the layout here. So we've got, all right, so we've got some extra stuff going on. Like over here, this is an extra collection. Some cool offerings in here, though, to say the least. Great titles. Some duplicates thrown into the mix. We'll back out, though. Let's go straight into TechnoParrot. And I like the fact that if you just want to keep TechnoParrot separate from everything else, you have that ability here. You can jump in here. You can access things much easier. So there's an element that makes this really user-friendly. So let's comb through here. And how many... Let me back out because I want to see how many TechnoParrot games we have. 127 TechnoParrot games. I would say if I'm going to be picky, I'd like them to have like the light gun games separated from like the driving games, from the fighting games. Like if they made it into a few categories, because we could tell based off of what we just saw in those previous collections, they definitely like their categories. It's funny that they kind of just combined everything together here, but Chase HQ2 is an awesome game. Contra Evolution is cool. What else do we have in here? Definitely some cool fighting games. Daytona Championship USA. Awesome game here. I've always loved the Daytona games, but this one is really cool because it's from 2016. So graphically, it's going to be light years ahead of the stuff that we probably all grew up playing. Dead or Alive 6, Dead or Alive 5, Ultimate Arcade. Those are great games. Dirty Driving, probably one of my favorite racing games for TechnoParrot. Just really cool stuff here. Far Cry Paradise Lost. That's cool for a few minutes. It does get a little bit old. Friction's cool. Guilty Gears in here, a couple of those. Now, this is kind of like Dirty Racing. I like this game a lot as well. The H2 Overdrive. Kind of like a kicked up Hydro Thunder. King of Fighters is in here. Super Mario Brothers Wii. I wonder if they have the Mario Kart game in here too, because there is one that was released for, you know, that would be found on TechnoParrot. That's pretty cool. This is pretty cool as well. Cool Rabbids shooting game there. Radical Bikers, man, this takes me back. I remember this arcade cabinet. If you've never experienced this game, it's kind of like so you're a delivery guy on a scooter bringing pizzas. It's basically Crazy Taxi, but this was a arcade. It looked like a regular arcade cabinet, but it had like scooter handlebars on it. So it was cool. You had the throttle and the brake. Everything was right up on top. I think probably the only arcade cabinet that I remember having that sort of setup. So if you haven't seen that, just Google Radical Bikers, Radical with a K, Bikers. It's a 1998 or 99, 98, it says right there in the bottom left corner, arcade cabinet. So definitely check that out. It's a really cool setup. Samurai Showdown. Wow, I'm totally blown away by this. Oh, so cool. We have the Sonic Sega All-Stars Racing Arcade version. So if you look at this, graphically it looks quite different than like the Sega All-Stars that you could find on like Switch or PS3. Very different there. Sonic Dash Extreme is a cool game as well. So based on all of that, wow, Star Wars Battle Pod, and not to bypass the Spider-Man titles here, but Star Wars Battle Pod, such a cool game. Street Fighter games in here, Tomb Raider's in here. It's a Tomb Raider light gun game. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. Midnight Racing games, there's so many of those. Aliens Extermination, one of my favorite light gun games as well. So cool to see this. Oh, and the Batman racing game. This is a pretty cool game. I remember playing this at the movie theater near my house for years and years. They actually recently took that out of there. Such a cool game. You can play against basically all the villains in all the Batman, movies, comic books, etc. So, all right, are we back to where we started? So, actually, I feel like as amazing of an offering as what we saw here in TechnoParrot, there is a lot of stuff that's not included on here. I will say that. Like, we only had one Aliens game. I didn't see any House of the Dead. I could have bypassed them. There was a lot to comb through here, but yeah, there's some House of the Dead stuff that you could find in here. What else? I didn't see the Jurassic Park game. I didn't see Terminator Salvation. So, yeah, there's a good amount of TechnoParrot games that are missing, but, it is what it is. You can't have everything, I suppose, but pretty cool. All right, we're going to back out of that. Now, what did we have left here? We went through Hyperspin. We went through Retrobat, so I guess it's just Playnite. Kodi, if you've seen Kodi, you know what it is. I'm not going to dive into that today, but let's go into Playnite, because this is where you're going to find your AAA games. And there should be an abundance of AAA games on here. I'm a big fan of Playnite. I got into that fairly recently in the last year and a half or so. But so many amazing PC games on a setup here that is so cool to have access to and laid out just beautifully. So I'm seeing a lot of Angry Birds here. We've got regular Angry Birds. We've got Rio. We've got some Star Wars. Actually, two versions of Star Wars Angry Birds here. So what else do we have? Cyberpunk 2077. Well, I wasn't a big fan of that one, honestly. Some Dragon Ball Z in here, Elden Ring's in here, FIFA 19, Final Fantasy, God of War, Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto. We got a couple of Grand Theft Auto titles here. Just Cause 4, MotoGP 19. I actually played 22 recently, and that's pretty cool. Rage 2 is an interesting game, to say the least. Red Dead Redemption 2, I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. Remnant over here from the Ashes, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Biohazard Gold Edition, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Streets of Rage 4, Street Fighter, we've got The Walking Dead, some more Tomb Raider, actually a bunch of Tomb Raider, WRC, which is a great racing title, Zombie Army Trilogy. So pretty cool stuff here. Honestly, I was thinking there was going to be a little bit more than there actually is here, but that's all right. It's really not a bad setup by any means. But how many games do we have in total on here? Does it actually tell us? I didn't even notice Dead or Alive 6 is over here. That's a great game too. So there's definitely some stuff I would play here, but I'm not, totally blown away by the AAA offerings here.
All right, guys, we jumped in here and wow, this has a lot going on here, a whole lot going on. So before I talk about my experience with this, I want to say this first and foremost. I made sure to scan this for malware and viruses. I did not detect anything. I got a couple false positives, but it was stuff that I'm used to detecting on emulation setups like this. And you got to remember, with emulation, you're using a lot of software that's not made by like Microsoft or the major companies that our devices are used to scanning. So there's going to be some false positives a lot of times with emulation. I'm not saying everything's a false positive, so you got to proceed at your own risk. And I recommend scanning any drive or PC that you didn't set up yourself. And that means brand new stuff that's factory sealed as well. We've seen mini PCs, especially, that have been sent out to consumers with viruses and malware on there. And it's not always done by the companies to be malicious. Sometimes it's people in their manufacturing team or their warehouses that are doing shady stuff. So you just never know in this day and age. Protect yourself, protect your network, scan everything that you connect over to your PC. If you're getting a brand new PC, scan that as well. So I want to make sure that I am very clear on all that stuff. And just because I didn't have any malware or viruses detected on my end doesn't mean that you won't. Not every drive is created the exact same way. It's not created from the exact same thing all the time. So you just got to make sure that you protect yourself at all times with anything that you're connecting over to your network that you haven't set up yourself. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the experience here. So this is advertised very much as a plug and play setup. I think plug and play is a stretch here. There is an extensive setup process here. It's not that time consuming or tedious. It took me about 10 minutes to do. A lot of the stuff that I had to add on here, drivers and whatnot, because I'm a gamer and I'm gaming mainly within these collections a lot of the time, I had about 95% of the stuff already installed on my PC. So I really didn't have to do much there. That probably did streamline the process for me more so than somebody that's going to be coming in here, without a background in this stuff. So take that into consideration. You also have to custom map a lot of these emulators. So you're able to map your controller that you connect over within Retrobat, within LaunchBox, etc. But oftentimes when you're using standalone emulators, you have to go into those as well. Like Nintendo Switch, I had to actually go in and customize my controls. And a lot of stuff was actually defaulted to keyboard. So I found that, like when I jumped into PS2 titles, nothing was happening with my controller, even though I had already mapped things. And it was because my keyboard was actually configured, because obviously I'm accessing everything through a gaming PC. I have a keyboard connected. So when I started messing around with the keyboard, just in an attempt to actually access my settings, I realized that it was picking up the keyboard as the controller. So I was able to navigate with that very easily. I had to switch some things around. So for somebody coming in here brand new to this stuff, it can be a lot to take on because you do have to customize a lot of stuff. It's not truly plug and play in that, you take a gamepad controller, you plug it in, and you're instantly able to jump into all these different games and game collections without having to tweak anything. That's not the case, unfortunately. So there are a lot of moving parts to this. I think it is very complicated for somebody that's brand new to this stuff. So if you don't want to kind of have to learn, your way around Hyperspin or Retrobat or LaunchBox, then this may not be the option for you. It may just be a little bit overwhelming. Now, not every single game that is listed in here works perfectly. I found that the majority of, in fact, probably almost all of the retro stuff works perfect. And what I mean by that is Super Nintendo, NES, Classic Arcade, the majority of like the Sega Model 1 through 3 stuff worked. There were some, ROMs in there that weren't great or didn't have a good experience, or there were some things that kind of kicked me back out to the main menu. So you kind of have to test things out. Unfortunately, not everything works perfect. When I jumped into Xbox, I actually had a great experience with the original Xbox, which surprised me because I've had, a less than stellar experience with that in the past, even from Kinhank products. So I thought that that was pretty cool. PS2 was great. PS3 was very good. Xbox 360, very, very, very hit or miss. And I knew that going in. Xbox 360 emulation is very touchy. So there's a lot of titles on here that I got excited to see that didn't pan out. So it's unfortunate in that regard. Now, jumping into Wii U and Nintendo Switch, I talked about how I had to custom configure things. So I had to go into the settings. I had to actually map the controls. It took all of about probably 10 seconds to do, but it still was, a process. But luckily, I'm familiar with that. So again, if you're new to this stuff, it can be a lot to navigate through and get through in a way that isn't frustrating for you. Now, Nintendo Switch I found to work very well. All of this, though, is going to have a lot of variables. It has a lot to do with obviously what you're plugging this game drive into. If you're using a mini PC, you're probably going to have a lot of shortcomings with a lot of this stuff, especially the more advanced stuff. If you're using a high end gaming PC, pretty much everything should work for you. But again, it depends on the specs of those PCs. So, not everybody's going to have the same smooth performance. I had a good experience with Wii U as well as Switch. Didn't test out every single title. There were some Switch titles that weren't great, like House of the Dead's remake. It was really shoddy for me. Maybe it was my gaming PC, but my gaming PC can usually handle Switch very well. So you're going to have some titles that are hit or miss. So not everything that's shown here is going to work perfect, and we all have to realize that going into this. So at the end of the day, would I recommend something like this? I mean, I really can't say. I think there's something in here for everybody, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work well. There's a lot of stuff that works phenomenally well. It's very hit or miss across the board. So you really have to kind of take a gamble here and see if it's going to line up with what you're looking for. I don't think the price point here is outrageous. I think it's really cool that it offers all of these different components into play here. We have the Hyperspin, we have the Retrobat, we have the LaunchBox, we have Playnite as well. Playnite for me wasn't really a home run. There were some cool titles there, but nothing that really truly blew me away. But that's where, everybody's different. Everybody has different interests, different types of games resonate with them differently. So, for me, it wasn't a home run, but for somebody else, it might have all of their favorite titles listed in Play Night. So it just depends. And I would say go through everything that I toured through with you guys today, see if the collections that are stacked line up with what you're looking for. For the retro stuff, though, you're going to really have a great experience. So I will say that, but Xbox 360, very hit or miss. PS3 was actually pretty good for me, but it depends on what you're using for a PC too. So a lot of variables at play here. Definitely let me know what you guys think. And I actually want to show you guys though what this looks like internally. So we have to remember at the end of the day, this is not an SSD. So this is the enclosure. I actually removed it just so you guys can see what's inside here. So it is a mechanical drive. It's a 12 terabyte Seagate enterprise capacity 3.5 HDD. So these are a little bit slower. So like your load times, you're going to see a lot of slowdown. It's going to take a while for things to load in. I mean, this is 12 terabytes, so it's crammed with a lot of stuff going on here. So your load times can be a little bit longer if you had an SSD, which is going to cost you way more money. But if you had an SSD and you had everything on here on an SSD rather than a mechanical hard drive, things would load much quicker, and I think you would have a better experience, but price would just be insane on something like that. So we do have to take into consideration the fact that a mechanical drive is going to be a little bit slower, especially with those load times. So, there were some points where I was like, is this game ever going to load in? And then when I was about to X out everything, it would, take me right through. So something to consider as well here. But, at the end of the day, it is a pretty nice drive, but a little bit slower than some of the other options out there. So weigh out the pros and cons, see if it's something that you're interested in. But I wanted to at least just show you guys around this thing because I thought it was insane as to what was included on here and all that. So I'll provide a link in the description of this video. You guys can click over. This is currently on AliExpress. Take a look at what they're selling it for and all that stuff. But that's going to do it for today. Let me know what you guys think of this plug and play 12 terabyte Kinhank game drive. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys know the deal. Give me a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed the content today. And of course, hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos right here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.